Yeah, AJ Mahar here. Does recycling, trying to get the borderline or the suspected person with BPD assessed and into treatment, or a person with BPD into treatment, does that make it even possible to consider on the radar that though the relationship has ruptured and you've either been devalued, you've been devalued, and you've either been ghosted or discarded, or maybe you broke up with them, but it's ruptured and it's a mess, and it's very difficult for people with codependency to navigate this, because most people who are in these relationships with the cluster Bs have codependency. And that's not a bad word. It's not a word to blame you for anything. It just means you have childhood woundedness, and there are things that you need to look at, examine, and heal in your life so that you won't be getting involved with cluster Bs anymore. So there's a comment here, and it's interesting because can you get them into therapy and make the relationship work and get back together in the future, or hang in there for like 8 to 16 years in the meantime? Not recommended. My answer is absolutely not, because you can't afford that. You can't even invest in that, because even people that go on to get into therapy one day with BPD and to really work through that and to come out on the other side healed and recovered, because that happens for many people, but doesn't happen for so many more because they don't ever seek treatment. You can't really afford to invest and suffer and be in pain and all that goes with codependency and this question that people have in their lives. You can't really invest in that, because even if they would go to therapy for 8 years or more, and in modalities that actually bring about actual recovery versus symptom management, the symptom management of DBT versus the recovery and healing of transference-focused psychotherapy and psychodynamic modalities that are similar, including schema therapy. So when you're asking this question, many people out there are wondering, can this happen for me and this person with BPD? Well, here's an interesting comment, because it's a person with BPD. They have an interestingly similar question. So on the video I did, borderline personality relationships, breakup, Q&A number 2, can you get your BPDX back? A commenter says, they ask if I have any insight from the people with BPD's point of view. There is a playlist, sorry for the name, this is called AJ Mahari on BPD for Borderlines. Hasn't been updated though, but it's more or less the videos that I have done that I think people with BPD could hear more of what I'm saying and might gain some insight from that, okay, depending where you're at. So there's that. And the question is, how can a BPD recover from the disorder and get their ex to come back, and how to make the relationship work again? Okay, first of all, the relationship didn't work the first time around, right? For the person with BPD or for the partner or who the now ex. But to get the relationship to work again for real this time. So see, there's an admission right there. The person with BPD understands, this person is aware enough to go, well, for real this time, because whatever that was before kind of didn't work. And from a person with BPD's perspective. And then the commenter continues, you say it's possible if the BPD do work on their disorder, but how? No, I never said that. So what I'm saying, because there's a lot of people with BPD that do watch my videos, believe it or not, and I work with many of them as well. So it's not that every person with BPD goes screaming away and insults me. Many do that. Yeah, they do. But they're not as aware as many others, because like I said, all people with BPD aren't the same, and they're not all in the exact same spot at any given moment with awareness, whether in treatment, etc. But I just want to make it clear that I have never said that people with BPD go to treatment, get treated successfully, work hard, stick with it, go through the entire process, and heal and recover, and get to know yourself, and then after the initial work that's required in BPD recovery, you can then be doing that reparenting the wounded inner child once you find that part of self again, because that the child ego state fragments off in the arrested emotional development in those who go on to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So lots of healing is possible, and you can go on and have a healthy, really workable, healthy relationship after BPD recovery and healing, but not with the person that you were with prior. I've never said that. I wouldn't recommend that for people with BPD who go on to be treated and heal and recover any more than I would recommend that for people with codependency. Just to make that clear. So, yeah, to make the relationship work again, for real, as this person says, and I'm all due respect to this person with BPD. It's a very civil and aware and honest question. No, the goal for people with codependency, with an ex with BPD or suspected BPD, or the goal for a person with BPD who wants to seek treatment, first and foremost, you need to seek that treatment for yourself, and you need to make that almost your life's work for the time that it takes to get through that process. And so I've never said, nor do I recommend, that people with BPD, after all the work that you'll go through in healing and recovery, and really finding yourself and establishing healthy boundaries and stepping out of cluster B, because people with BPD can do that with treatment, then you need to keep moving forward in your life. And you can't anticipate from, maybe you've had some treatment, or anybody out there with BPD, if you've had some treatment, or if you haven't yet, from where you are right now and what you know right now today, with all due respect, there's no way that you can project yourself into that future as to how you would actually feel. Because I would suggest to you, what I found out through my own healing recovery, was that the more you know yourself and the more you're healing and the more you recover, the more you learn about what's happened in a relationship from the other person and yourself, and with, the dynamics of that. So people with BPD need to realize that when they get through treatment, or further down the road in treatment, wherever you are if you're in treatment or about to start, that you're not going to feel the same way about that person as you do today. And you're not going to be doing all this hard work for yourself to try to get an ex back. Just as I say to people with codependency who've been with somebody with BPD or suspected BPD but untreated BPD, and you're wanting to get them back, and you're wondering, well, if I can just get them to go to therapy, if I can just get them to get treated, well, then maybe we can, plug up some holes in the sinking ship. And that doesn't work, because the water still keeps coming in faster, because it takes people with BPD who go to treatment, it takes time. It takes time to make a lot of changes, and people will take a step or two forward and a step or two back. And that's part of really any healing and recovery journey. So not to just highlight that with people with BPD who seek treatment. So for people with BPD and for people who are the ex of somebody with BPD out there, recycling the relationship or trying to get the person with BPD to go to therapy, or when a person with BPD is going to seek treatment for themselves, the goal is to heal on both sides of the fence, right? The person with BPD getting treatment, the codependent getting treatment, separately, often not in relationship anymore, and moving forward. Because even the codependent, the ex of a person with BPD right now, even if you haven't got into a healing recovery process to break that unhealthy bond, people with BPD will have that work to do, not really at the end of their journey, but as they're approaching, that healing, recovered place, which doesn't make people perfect, but is the difference between having BPD or not. And when people do heal and recover from BPD, they don't continue to split. They don't, it's not a lifelong thing of being the same at all. And one would hope that I could at least be proof of that to some degree for some people. I know there are other people Hi. That just have to keep saying, I'm still bored, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Because the stigma is really that bad. But the whole point here is neither side of the relationship and the breakup should be looking to get the other person back. So if you're somebody with BPD and you're going to seek treatment, you're going to work hard on yourself, you want to move forward, you want to heal, then don't be thinking it's to get back with an ex or get an ex back. Because when they seek treatment, so if you're an ex of somebody with BPD, when you seek treatment, a healing and recovery journey, you can't know it right now, but when you get through what that really entails and you heal from the breakup and you look at the family of origin work and you see where things are interconnected and you heal that, you're going to change and grow in ways that you won't even then want to consider looking back that person's direction. No offense against anyone. And the reason is because what you've experienced and what the person with BPD's experienced who's going to go to treatment and potentially heal and recover as well, it's too much damage. It's past now for both sides. And so you need to move forward. And I think that the key thing for people with BPD starting or continuing treatment, and this person that left a comment in the question, can if I go to treatment and work on it, heal and recover, can I get my ex back? And have a relationship for real this time? That's projecting yourself into the future, as do exes of people with BPD do that. And the thing is, that's why it's so important whether you have BPD and you're starting or continuing treatment right now, but the relationship is broken up and that ex is gone, the ex should stay gone because it's in both people's interest to keep moving forward and to focus on the radical acceptance in each process of healing and recovery of the mindfulness and the power of now, to focus on the here and now only as a person with BPD is in treatment and going through a recovery and a healing and a changing and a growing process, as do exes, codependents, go through their own healing and change and personal growth journeys and recovery from codependency and the family of origin. Get your family of origin out of you. You don't know what you're going to want when you get there. And I've seen so many clients that I've said this, I will say this often to clients because it comes up in different ways. And I'll just be reminding them to radically accept what is right now, which is a practice and a discipline in and of itself. And I would say the same thing for people with BPD, learning about radical acceptance and mindfulness so that you can be in the now of what your healing recovery journey is. And then at each step of the way, by focusing on the now, separately, the person with BPD that has either ghosted or discarded or you broke up with, but the relationship has ruptured. It should be black and white, ladies and gentlemen. Over. Done. And not to be sought after and recycled and trying to fix it. Because people with codependency and people with BPD, not in the same ways for the same reasons, but both sides don't have the skills to repair what breaks or what isn't really what you think it is in the first place. So you can do that. People with BPD can do that for themselves in treatment. And codependents can do that for themselves in the healing recovery journey and getting your family of origin out of you and how important that is in inner child work and all of the other things I'm always talking about here. But your focus needs to be on yourself, whether you have BPD or you're BPDX, and the focus needs to be on the now and each step of the journey of your recovery, whether you have BPD, whether you're a codependent, with a trajectory forward in your life and no more looking back. There's a lot of looking back in the process of healing recovery on the BPD side, on the codependent side. But it's so important to learn the discipline of radical acceptance and mindfulness to now as you're working in a healing and recovery journey. So the comment, I thought it's a really important question to answer because it's out there for exes, right? But some people with BPD, like this commenter, are aware and they really want to work and hopefully they're seeking treatment. They really would like to do that and work on themselves and then be able to get their ex back and have a relationship for real this time. And think about it. There's a gem of wisdom from this person with BPD in this comment and the question. Because you as a codependent, you as an ex of somebody with BPD, you need to realize that last part of the question of the person with BPD here, that whose comment I'm responding to and question, which is to state simply, but it's not simple, that what you might be seeking, if you still are of the mind and belief that you can recycle this, or after they go to therapy and you can get back together so that you can be in a relationship for real the next time, 8 to 10 years from now, because that's the recovery trajectory in time at minimum for people with BPD. It's not the length of codependency recovery, by the way. I just want to make that clear. Yeah, like, hello, it's, with all due respect, I say, hello. It's like, gotta break that unhealthy bond, gotta learn the discipline of radical acceptance and mindfulness and presence to the here and now, even when it hurts. Because until and unless you address that pain and you lean into the adversity of that pain, and I'm out here to work with you to help you with that if you resonate with me, then you're kind of on the same trajectory of thought and want as this person with BPD who's aware, want to get the X back. So, applies to the person with BPD and applies to BPD X's. Want to get the X back and have a relationship for real this time. No, you've already had the opportunity. The person with BPD, the X, the codependent, you've already had the opportunity, it didn't work. Now, there's woundedness and damage. Yes, for people with BPD as well, whatever it is that they go through. And I'm not trying to minimize that. This is not my focus here, with all due respect. But I do work with people with BPD as well. But the thing is, so I hope that this just gives you some more food for thought. It's just another message, another way, and another context of saying, whether you're the person with BPD and you're in treatment, or you're seeking treatment, or you're about to seek treatment, you want to get your ex back to have a relationship for real this time, or you're the ex of a person with BPD, and you would wish that you're healing in recovery, and that they would get into therapy, which you have no control over, and it takes a substantially significant amount of time. You have to let it go. You have to focus on the here and now. And people with codependency, one of the things I'm so aware of when I'm working with clients, often, please don't hear this in a condescending way. You're very intelligent people. But often, emotionally speaking, need to be taught emotionally how to feel worthy enough and why you matter enough to care about you as a codependent. And to invest in your healing recovery journey to keep moving forward in your life. And when people get through this, as I've had so many clients get through the codependency, BPD relationship breakup, sometimes NPD relationship breakup, or comorbidity, it's BPD, NPD, and it's relationship breakup. I've had so many clients, more than that, work the process, and when they get to that place where they're finished with their work and they have got the family of origin out of them and put all those connecting pieces together, done the grief work, done the inner child healing work, etc., etc., I haven't had one person say that they're focused on, thinking about, or wanting their BPD or NPD or BPD NPD X back.